This is my testimony how I come to know Christ. I came to Christ at a very, I shouldn't say an early age. I was 19 years old. It was 1983. Um, Accepted Christ through a track I was reading, and then didn't have no spiritual growth, didn't go to church or anything like that. But I did notice a change in my life, big time, and was excited, on fire for the Lord, wanted to get into His Word. After that, I went in the Navy, was married, or found my wife and I. My wife and I were married. I was in the Navy; she was not. So, anyways, I was stationed in Pensacola, Florida. At that time, this is probably 1987. We got married in 87, and we met in 86. So we've been married for, 31, 32 years. Anyways, after I got out of the Navy, we moved to Central Florida, where I'm originally from, just outside Daytona Beach. And we didn't really go to church. So I was working at this place, and it was a pizza place, and this guy invited me to his church. And I said, yeah, I will go. And I never really went. And then, it took him a few times. And I finally went. I fell in love with the church, started growing, and my wife and I started attending Deltona Alliance Church. It's a Christian Missionary Alliance church. We loved it. Anyways, fast forward to 2010. And prior to 2010, I developed a drinking problem. I began drinking a lot. So I became an alcoholic. So in 2010, my wife was laid off from work. And because of that, and also me spending money foolishly on alcohol, we lost our home. And we had 2 children at home at the time, 2 younger children. I have 4 total. 2 of them are already growing up and on their own. So my wife and I didn't know what to do. I received an email, praise the Lord, from a friend of mine who lived in Oklahoma, who needed an inspector to do roadside construction and inspection work. And I went ahead and took the job. I had done this kind of work in Florida for the public. Now I'm going into the private sector, so I had a taste of both. While I was there, I had developed, I was getting sick. So once we moved to Oklahoma in 2012, I was working there about a year. It was probably the end of 2013. I started getting ill, went to the doctor, and they said, basically, you got cirrhosis of the liver. And I says, okay, how long can I live with that? I mean, is there any kind of medication for that? And they said, no. I said, okay, how long do I live? And they said they didn't know. And it was at that point I cried out to God, and I said, Lord, take this drinking away from me. And He did. So I went ahead, they put me on a transplant list, and I had a liver transplant on November 13th, 2014. Now, because my liver failed, your liver affects a lot of other parts of your body. During that time, my body was collecting fluid in my abdomen. And because of that, I had developed a hernia. And every once in a while, they'd have to go into my abdomen, basically poke a hole in it and drain it. So that was done. So, make a long story short, I finally healed up. We got back on our feet. I was making real good money as an inspector, working for the private sector, and now I couldn't go back to doing what I was doing. I just couldn't. I had 2 back surgeries and everything, and I just could not do that type of work anymore. So my wife went back to school, and she went to get into the medical field. So she took classes on medical coding and billing, and she eventually landed a job at the Oklahoma City Clinic, working there. And she enjoyed it. We started getting back on our feet because when I was ill, we lost my income and that, and we had a lot of people help us out. So, anyways, my wife went back to work, and she worked there about a year, and then she started having back issues, and we found out that, going to doctors and everything, she had developed cancer. And that was 2 years ago. So 2 years ago, she developed cancer, and we told ourselves, we talked about it, we said we wanted nothing to do but glorify God through this whole process. So, long story short, she passed away from cancer in July of last year. It was lung cancer, and she never smoked and never been around smoke. I don't smoke or anything like that. So she passed away. But God has been good to me and has been gracious, and He's blessed me beyond measure. I know my wife's in heaven. I know one day I'm going to see her again. So that's my background. That's where I'm from. I've got a lot to share. Hopefully, any of this will help encourage you, maybe. God's been really good to me and has blessed Sharon and I throughout this entire journey. We were married 31 years, and she is just an amazing woman to me. So anyways, that's my story. And if you have any questions, just hit me up and ask, and I'd be happy to answer them for you. Thank you.